Hello everyone, welcome to the webinar today, and this is the last session in the series for fractions. Today we will look at multiplication and division for fractions. Before I go ahead and start my webinar, I'd like to introduce myself. My first name is Miriam. I'm the math instructor here at Penn Foster. I did join the team in 2015. I am certified to teach high school math in the state of Pennsylvania since 2010. And also I did earn my master's degree in education last year. Basically, today we're going to go over the rules that we have to go by when we multiply and divide different combinations of fractions, mixed numbers, whole numbers. We're going to learn about the reciprocal when we divide. We're going to learn that division is essentially multiplication. We will also learn how to use the cancellation method. So to start with, let's look at simple questions about multiplication. So here on the screen, you will see simple fractions that we're trying to multiply, no mixed numbers, no whole numbers. Later on, we will combine mixed fractions and we'll see different types of questions regarding multiplication and division. So the good thing about multiplication and division that we do not have to have the same denominator to multiply or divide. If you remember from the last session, or if you can go to our YouTube list for playlist for the fractions unit, you will see that we did mention about addition and subtraction. They're a little bit harder because you have to make the denominators common first, and then you'll be able to add and subtract. In division and multiplication, they do not have to have the same denominator. To multiply, it is better to go ahead and cancel out any common fractions from any number on the top with any number on the bottom. So that way, when you multiply, your answer will probably be in simplest form. I mean, you can go ahead and multiply across 3 times 15 and 5 times 12. You will get an ambiguous answer, and you still have to simplify your answer. The better way to do that is to cancel out again any common factor between the top numbers and the bottom numbers. For example, question number A, you have 3 over 5 times 15 over 12. We're going to look at the numbers on the top and the bottom and try to eliminate any common factors by division. So I see 15 and 5, and right away I realize that 5 is a common factor between 15 and 5. So I'm going to divide over 5 on the top and the bottom. So for example, I cannot do over 3 and over 3. I mean, I can do for the 15 and the 12, but for example, I cannot do 15 over 3 and 3 over 3. These two numbers are on the top together. We cannot do that. We have to eliminate a common factor from a number on the top with a number on the bottom. So far, our question is 3 divided by 1, because 5 over 5 is a 1, times 15 divided by 5 is 3. So we have 3 over 12 so far. Now, if I see another common factor that I'm able to eliminate, I can do another round of our cancellation method. I see 3 and 12, so divide over 3, or you can do divide over 3 here and then divide over 3 on the bottom. So again, we're eliminating the 3 from a number on the top and a number on the bottom. And rewrite the question again. 1 over 1, because 3 over 3 is a 1, and we have a 1 already on the denominator. So it's a 1 over 1 times 3 over 4. Now, we see that 1 and 1, nothing common, 3 and 1, nothing common, 1 and 4, nothing common, 3 and 4, nothing is common. So we're done with the cancellation method. We cannot simplify our question before multiplying anymore. So the next step is to multiply across. Multiply the numerators together and denominators together. 1 times 3 is 3, and 1 times 4 is 4. Now look at the answer, 3 and 4, nothing common. We cannot simplify further for the answer, so your product or your answer for this multiplication problem is 3/4. So again, we're going to repeat the same process with any multiplication question that we see on the screen. First, eliminate any common factor from a number on the top and the bottom. Try to do as much elimination as you see, and then at the end, multiply across. Number B, 200 over 150 times 16 over 27. Whenever I see any two numbers ending with a 0, I know that 10 is a common factor. So divide over 10 and divide over 10. Rewrite the problem. So 200 over 10 will give you 20. And then 150 over 10 will give you 15 times 16 over 27. We did not touch that second fraction yet. Now look again, are we able to find another common factor from any number on the top and any number on the bottom? Well, I see 20 and 5. Any two numbers ending with a 0 and 5 will have a 5 as a common factor. So divide over 5 and divide over 5 equals 2. Rewrite your question. So it's going to be 4 divided by 3, because 15 over 5 is 3, and then times again the second fraction. We did not eliminate anything from it, so it's going to stay the same in equals 2. Let's check if we are able to eliminate anything else. 4 and 3, nothing common. 4 and 27, nothing common. 16 and 3, nothing. 16 and 27, nothing. So we just multiply across. So 4 times 16 will give you 64 on the top. And then 3 times 27 equals to 81 on the bottom. You're able to use a calculator whenever you feel you're not gonna be able to manually multiply 4 times 16 if you wish. I use a calculator just because we're not learning how to manually multiply. We now are learning how to multiply fractions. So I would rather focusing my mind on the process of multiplying fractions rather than just, multiplying two whole numbers. I can just do that with a calculator, and it's up to you at the end. So 64 over 81, nothing common to eliminate. But this answer is not in simplest form, because if you remember from the last webinar and the first webinar in this series, an improper fraction will make our answer not in simplest form. We have to put our improper fraction in a mixed number form. So if you remember, we asked the question, how many times 81 will go into 64? So 64 and 81, that is a proper fraction. My bad. So this is in simplest form. So 64 over 81 is a simplest form, again, because it's a proper fraction. If it was not a proper fraction, we will have to change it to a mixed number. I'm sure down the road we will have some examples where we have an improper fraction, and we will remember together how to put it in mixed number form. But as of now, this is the right answer. This is in simplest form, and that is it. So the product of these two fractions, 64 over 81. 35 over 12 times 60 over 7. So again, when I see 35 and 7, 35 is on the top, 7 is on the bottom. Right away, I'm going to use 7 as a common factor because I know the multiplication table of 7. So I'm going to use the knowledge for that. So I'm going to divide over 7 and divide over 7. And rewrite the question. Some students would like to do too many cancellation steps in one step and then rewrite the question again. I personally, if I'm starting to learn how to multiply fractions, I do it one step at a time. So whenever I divide over 7, I just stop and rewrite my problem. If I have to eliminate again, I'm going to rewrite my problem again. So that way I'm going to eliminate any confusion or any mistakes, especially if I'm still learning how to do multiplication. So 35 over 7 will give you, of course, 5 over 12 times 60 over 1, because 7 over 7 is a 1. And then look again, 60 and 12. From the multiplication table of 12, we know that 12 times 5 will give you 60. So divide over 12 and divide over 12. So it's going to be 5 over 1, because 12 over itself, it's a 1 times 5 over 1. Look at the numbers, 5 and 5, nothing common, 5 and 5, nothing common. The same thing with the other fraction. I'm done with the cancellation method. So I'm just going to go ahead and multiply across. 5 times 5 is 25, and 1 times 1 is a 1. 25 over 1 is a whole number, 25. So your answer actually is not a fraction, it is a whole number. Is it possible that when you multiply two fractions, you can get a whole number? Yes. If you get a whole number as your answer and you did every single step correctly, then that's it. This is your answer. It does not have to be a fraction. Any question on this slide? Anything that was not clear on the steps that we did follow so far to multiply two fractions? Okay, let's move on to a self-check question. The self-check questions, again, as you used in my webinar, my webinars so far, self-check questions are not graded. They are not part of your grade for this course. They are given throughout this webinar just to give you a chance to practice and do whatever we have learned on that one topic during our webinar. So again, this is a question, 3 over 12 times 18 over 9. How would you multiply these two fractions? We're going to follow the same steps. Cancellation method, you cancel out all the factors until there's nothing to be canceled out, and then multiply across, and then you can go ahead and select your answer. So you can get a piece of paper, a pen, or a pencil, and write down the problem. Try to follow closely the steps that we had followed so far for multiplying two fractions. So you're supposed now to have a piece of paper, write down the question, and you should be starting thinking about the factor. Which factor we're able to eliminate, if any, from a top and a bottom number? Do you see anything that would click in your mind saying this number should be a common factor, so we should divide over that factor? What do you think? 18 and 9, what do you think? Okay, let's then do the question together and see. And if you happen to know that your answer was not correct, it does not mean that fraction is impossible to be understood. It's not that the question will judge your understanding to fraction. This is actually a guide to you. If you did not know how to multiply the two fractions on screen, you still have time. Go back to the study unit, do some readings, ask questions, reach out for help. So again, 3 and 9, or 18 over 9. I'm going to do 9 and 9. And that will make me write the problem as 3 over 12 times 2 over 1. Because 18 over 9 is a 2, and then 9 over 9 is a 1. Let's see if I'm able to eliminate another factor, 3 and 12, or 2 and 12. Let's do over 2 and over 2. What's going to happen to the problem? It's going to be rewritten as 3 over 6 times 1 over 1 equals 2. Well, I have 3 and 6, so over 3 and over 3, and that will give me 1 over 2 times 1 over 1, multiply across 1 over 2, and this is the correct answer, number C. If you got the answer correct, good job. If not, do not give up. Just go back to your steps and see why you did not get the correct answer.